Okay, everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about area. So, if you haven't watched my video on perimeter yet, I would recommend watching that first before we dive into area. Okay, so let's start. So, what is area? Area is the total space inside of a shape. So, perimeter is the space outside of a shape, but area is the space inside. So let's look at this first example. So as you can see, my perfect, not so perfect box that I have drawn here, we're going to call each of these little squares 1 unit. So what is the area of this? What fills the space? Okay, well, let's count. Let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we can say that we have the area is equal to 9 units, because we always need a unit, squared. So let's talk about why we need this squared sign. Because we are finding, really what we are doing is one side times another side. So the inside of it is going to be squared because we're using 2 dimensions. We are using the length and the width. Okay, I'm going to explain that a little more in a minute, but for now, let's move on. What I want to show you again with this example is that we have 9 boxes, which we used by adding up 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, on and on and on. But using multiplication, we could also do this. We know that each one of these boxes is going to be a 1, right? So all together here, we have 3 units. Okay, and let's look at the bottom. We know that each of these is going to be a 1 also. And so if we add those together, we know that that's also going to be 3 units. So what we can do here, because we know that our area is going to be equal to our length times our width, we can do our length, which is 3 units, times our width, which is also 3 units, and 3 times 3 is also 9 units squared. Okay, let's move on to our next example. So we have an example here, and here I know it's not perfectly drawn, but we have a square, and what we know about a square is that all sides are equal. A square has 4 equal sides. Okay, so we know that if this side is 2, then what does this side have to be? Well, that side also has to be 2 meters. And because this side is 2, what does this side have to be? 2 meters. And the same with this side. So what we can do here to find the area is, once again, we're going to multiply our length times our width. I write an L for length and a W for width. And so you can label these however you want, however you see which one's length and which one's width, but I see this side as length and this side as width. So we can conclude that 2 times 2 is equal to 4 meters squared, meaning that our area is 4 meters squared. No, what we did was this. 2 times 2 is equal to 4. Okay. So we'll move on to this example, and we're going to try to use the method that we used earlier as well. That's highlighted in green. Whoops. And we are going to multiply here our 6 centimeters, which is our length, and our 2 centimeters, which is our width. And we're going to say, okay, well, area is equal to length times width, and our length is 6 centimeters, and our width is 2 centimeters, and 6 times 2 is equal to 12 centimeters. What do we need to add? That's right, 12 centimeters squared. And so we did 6 times 2, our length times our width, is equal to 12 centimeters squared. Okay, we have another example here. It's very similar to the last one. What I want you to do is pause the video and try it on your own. Okay, so if you've tried it on your own, now we're going to go over it. So like we did with the last one, we're going to label our sides. We have our length and our width, and we know that our area is equal to length times width. So we can say that our area is equal to 4 times 8, and 8 times 4 is equal to 32 inches squared, right? 8 times 4 is equal to 32 inches squared. Okay, now we're going to move on to some harder examples. So if you still have questions, feel free to rewind the video and go back to one of these problems and watch it again. Okay, so now let's go on to some harder questions. Okay, so we're going to look at this top example here. So we know that our total area is 70 feet squared. So that means that this middle area is going to be 70 feet squared. So let's write out what we know to be true about area. So we know that area is equal to length times width. And what we're looking for, sorry, I forgot to mention it before, what we're looking for is what this side is that I called X. But you could just call it, the short side. So we know that area is length times width. So I'm going to label it again. We have a length here and width here, and this is area. Okay, so we have enough information actually to solve for our width, because that's what we're looking for, right? We know what the area is, check. We know what the length is, check, but we don't know what the width is. So let's write in what we know so far. So we know that 70 feet squared is our area, right? It's right down here. Our length is 10 feet times our question mark. Okay, so now we can actually divide. So we can do 70 divided by these 10 feet is equal to 7. And 7 feet is going to equal our width. So let's check that answer now. Okay, so let's replace this X here with a 7, or 7 feet that we have, and let's check and see if that's true. So area is equal to length times width, and so we have our area is equal to our 10 feet as our length times our 7 feet, which we just found as our width, and that's equal to 70 feet squared, which is the area that they gave us at the beginning. So once again, just to reiterate, we're taking our area, we are dividing it by one of the sides. Depending on which side you're given, you could divide it by either side. So in this case, we were given our 70 and we divided by 10. But if you were given 70, you could also divide it by 7 to get 10. And that gave us our other side. Okay, so we are back with another example on area. Okay, so looking at this example, we know that our total area is 36 centimeters squared. So I'm going to go ahead and write that in our rectangle here. And we have one side is 4 centimeters, and we were looking for this other side, the question mark. Okay, so let's find out what we already know. So we know the area. We're going to write our equation. Area equals length times width. So we know the area. We know the width. We're missing the length. Okay, because we're going to call this length and this width, and this is area. So let's plug in what we already know. So we know that 36 centimeters squared is our area, which is equal to L, or sorry, I'll put a question mark, times 4. Okay, well, what times 4 is 36? 9. And another way of doing that is 36 divided by 4 is also 9. So you could also do it this way. If it's nicer to look at it this way, then we get our question mark on one side is equal to 9 centimeters. Now we're going to check it. So let's plug that in here. We have our new 9 centimeters, and let's check. Area is equal to length times width. Length is 9 centimeters times 4 centimeters, which is equal to 36 centimeters squared. It checks out, and we got our correct answer. Okay, next we have another problem which is going to combine what we did in the last video also with perimeter. Okay, so we're going to find the perimeter and area. We can do this. I promise. We're going to work through it. So we know two sides. So we're going to get into the habit of labeling here. So we're going to call this our length, and we're going to call this our width. And we could find whichever one you want first. Whichever one you want to find first, you can find perimeter first, you can find area first, whatever is easiest for you. I'm going to find the perimeter first. So, starting with perimeter, we're going to go back to what we know. So we know that opposite sides of a rectangle are equal to each other. So that means this 9 inches is equal to that 9 inches, and these 4 inches is going to be equal to these 4 inches. Okay, well that's easy. We can fill in those sides now. We know that this is 4 inches and this is 9 inches. And we can do our perimeter, which is equal to 9 plus 9 plus 4 plus 4, which is 9 plus 9 is 18. 4 plus 4 is 8. 18 plus 8 is equal to 26. Another way of doing that is saying 9 times our two sides plus 4 times our two sides. We get 9 times 2, which is also 18, plus 4 times 2, which is 8, equals 26. So it's the same thing, but this one is addition, and this one is multiplication. Okay, so we know that our perimeter is going to be 26 inches. That is our answer for perimeter. Now we're going to move on to area. Well, we already know all of the information that we need to know for area, because we know that area is equal to length times width, and we have both our length and our width. So we can say our area is going to be equal to 9 inches times 4 inches, which gets us to 36 inches squared. And just like that, you have both the area and perimeter of this rectangle. Amazing. So, our final problem is going to be the hardest problem that we've done so far because it's a word problem. So, let's work through this word problem. When I see a word problem, the first thing I like to do is pull out all of the numbers that we have. Okay, so let's read it and then we'll pull out these numbers. Okay. Sally is making a garden in her backyard. She has a rectangular fence that is missing one side. The long side of the fence is 20 feet, and the shorter sides are 4 feet. How much more fence does she need, and how much dirt does she need for the inside? Okay, so let's label what we know. So she has a rectangular fence that is missing one side. The long side of the fence is 20 feet, and the shorter side, so we know that there are two of them, are 4 feet. All right, so let's label. So we know that this long side is going to be 20 feet. this short side is going to be 4 feet, and this short side is going to be 4 feet, and we don't know this side. This side is missing, and we want to find out how much more fence she needs. Okay, so, and then later we're going to find out how much dirt she needs. So, how much more fence does she need? Well, there's actually a very easy way to solve this because we can go back to what we learned here and even in perimeter, which is that opposite sides of a rectangle are equal to each other. So because this 4 is equal to this 4, that means that this 20 feet is equal to this, which must be 20 feet. So we can erase our question mark that we have and we can replace it with 20 feet. So I like to write mine out. So Sally needs 20 more feet of fence. Okay. Well, the question doesn't ask for it, but it would be good practice. Let's just find out how much fence she has in total. So once again, we're finding the entire outside, which is the perimeter. So we have 20 plus 20 plus 4 plus 4. That is equal to 40 plus 8, which is equal to 48 feet. That is our perimeter. Okay, how much dirt does she need? So the dirt is going to, I don't have a good brown color on here, but the dirt is going to fill up all this area in here, right? Okay. So I just said the answer, but we are finding the area. So the outside is the fence, which is our perimeter, and the inside, which is the dirt, is our area. So we know that our area is length times width. We can call the 20 feet our length and the 4 feet our width. And just like we've been doing, we can multiply our 20 times 4, which gets us 80 feet squared. So, to answer our question, Sally needs 20 more feet of fence, and Sally needs 80 feet squared of dirt. Fantastic. So, like I said, the best way to go about a problem like this is to go into your word problem, highlight the things that you know, draw a diagram. That is the most important thing in doing area and perimeter. Draw yourself a rectangular diagram and fill in what you already know to find what you're missing. So thank you everyone so much, and I will see you in the next video.